distinct luxury of being in the office all day today, which doesn't happen very often. When it does happen, I get really excited about it because I get to crank out loads of work and catch up on stuff from appointments during the week. But it's quiet, everybody's kind of out doing stuff right now, so I'm gonna take this opportunity to record a video for today. And it comes straight out of a conversation Josie and I had yesterday morning where I got on my soapbox about the retirement mentality, and that's what I wanna talk about. This is a map of the New York City Marathon route. This is actually on my bucket list. This is one of the things I would love to do one day, run the New York City Marathon. And it starts way down here in Staten Island. And it comes all the way up through Queens, over onto Manhattan, up through the Bronx, around, down through Central Park, and then finishes. 26.2 miles, grueling, it's incredibly challenging, it's an endurance event, and you just gotta kind of grit through it, right? That's the way a lot of people look at their path toward retirement. This, for the uninitiated, is a map of the United States. This is my kid's US wall map. But let's imagine you're not running the New York City Marathon. Let's say you're doing what a really good friend of mine, Tim Newby, did. He and his wife hopped on a tandem bicycle and they went from one coast to the other. I can't remember which way they went, but let's just say they started up here since we've been talking about New York. Let's say they start in New York and they went, I don't know what the route was, go all the way across the country. They dipped the back wheel in the Atlantic Ocean. A couple months, 3 months, 4 months later, they dipped the front wheel in the Pacific Ocean. Fantastic trip. The stories, the updates, it was really, really cool to hear about Tim and his wife going on this journey. That represents an entirely different approach to retirement. Now, I need to premise everything I'm about to say with a few facts. I am 43 years old. I have a very specific view of retirement that I'm going to share with you that I think other 43-year-olds should share. If you're 63 years old, if you're 65 years old, if you're 60 years old, if you're 70 years old, you're entitled to whatever view of retirement you want to have. You've earned it. But what I want to talk to are the other 43-year-olds out there, because I want so much more for you. When I hear other 43-year-olds talk about retirement like it's the New York City Marathon and they've just got to get to the finish line, because when they get to the finish line, they're going to be able to rest. It's all going to be over. They can check that thing off their bucket list. It's done. Now I get to enjoy the good life. I don't know why that bothers me so much, but it has something to do with the fact that if everything you're doing right now is such a grind, then you're probably not doing anything very well. And you're letting a ton of people down. Your customers, your employees, your vendors, most important, your family. Do you think your family wants to see you go through a grind every single day for the next 20 years, 25 years, until you've somehow squirreled away enough nuts to last you? And then what are you gonna do when you get to that magical day when you cross the finish line in Central Park and you're like, huh, now I get to live the good life? Do you even know what the good life is? You've spent the last 20, 30, 40 years not living life at all, and now all of a sudden you're gonna discover the good life. I just don't think it's gonna happen. Now think about the road trip idea, or the bike across America, or the walk across America, or whatever. What are you doing along the way? Are you just trying to grind it out? Really, if you're gonna bike across the country, you're just grinding it out? Now there are some tough days, I get that. But on the whole, you're there for the experience. You're there and you're aware and you're present and you're doing something other than grinding. I have nothing against working hard. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the mindset that you start every day with. If you start the day looking forward to the next 20 or 30 or 100 miles that you're going to cover, and the people you're going to meet, and the things that you're going to see, and the things that you're going to learn, and the relationships that you're going to build, and the relationship that you're going to deepen with your traveling partner, that's a much more fulfilling day than grinding it out on the streets of New York for 3 or 4 hours. And these are both just analogies, but I hope that you start to get my point in the sense of understanding whether your mindset is running and gritting out a New York City marathon or whether your mindset is biking across the country. Because there's another difference. The person who just wants to grit it out, when they're done, they're done. They'll never do that thing again. It really was just something they had to do to either be able to say they did it or to get to the finish line or whatever. The person who is not just grinding it out, but they've set a goal, they have a vision of doing this thing. When they're done, they do exactly what my friends Tim and Ann Newby did. They took that experience and they rolled it into the next thing. They didn't just put the bike back on the shelf. They started planning the next trip. They found ways that they could bring others. They found ways they could share the story to inspire people. They used the life lessons that they learned there in Tim's business and in his spiritual walk. And it was amazing to hear all of the fruit where that journey, that bike across the country, was just one piece of a very richly lived life that's still getting richer by the moment. So when I hear people talk about, when I hear 43-year-olds talk about retirement and just getting to retirement and putting in my time, and I've got, 15 extra years or whatever, I feel really, really bad for the people who have to deal with them on a regular basis. Because grinding it out shoulder to shoulder next to somebody, maybe the person next to them has the road trip mentality. Maybe the person next to them doesn't want to grind it out. Maybe the employee that's working for them isn't interested in just putting in time. They're actually looking for opportunity and they're looking for ways to improve the world, and they have to do it under a business owner that just wants to grind it out. Which leads me to my last point. There might be some professions, some institutions, some places where you can just put in your time and get to the end of a 20 or 30 year cycle and start collecting your pension and go about your merry way and be considered successful. There might be some places where you can do that, but business ownership is definitely not one of them. And that's what scares me when I run up against a business owner who's my age and they're just grinding. They're just like, I just got so many more years and then I can finally hang it up. I'm like, you're not going to be successful. Your customers aren't going to let you get to the next 20 years because they're going to go work with somebody who doesn't want to grind. They want to go work with somebody who's enjoying the road trip and wants to bring them along with them. So if you're watching this and you're not a business owner and you're in a spot where you can just put in your time, maybe that's okay for you. Maybe you're okay with that. But I still think, most important, I think your family's probably missing out because they're having to put up with you grinding, not to mention your coworkers and the people who have to supervise you. But if you're a business owner, I really hope you take this to heart and because here's the thing, you're in control. You're ridiculously in charge, as Henry Cloud says. You get to change this stuff. If you're grinding as a business owner, stop it. You have all of the knobs to turn, you have all the levers to push and pull. There's a way out. There's a way to figure out where your sweet spot is. There's a way to build that business so that you're on the road trip again. Don't settle for grinding it out. All right, I'm gonna get off my soapbox. I hope that was encouraging to you and maybe a little painful, maybe a little bit of a sting. See you guys tomorrow, which will probably actually be Monday, but you get the idea.